update time. I know I'm not tricking you all with some clickbait. What you saw in the thumbnail, I will explain. And really, I'm gonna get you guys to decide what I go and do for the next month, because I have thought long and hard about it and I don't know which to do. So in this update, I'm going to update you on a few things, and then I'm going to give you the pros and cons to two different options, and in the comments, whichever one you guys tell me to do is actually what I'm going to do. So why do I think that's a good idea? So sometimes when you have a decision to make and the pros and the cons are almost outweighing each other, so you know, not outweighing each other, balancing each other, I guess, and it's quite hard to decide which one to do, because you then think about what if I do this and this happens, and vice versa on the other side. And that's because you're obviously attached to that situation. So the ones I'm going to get onto, for me, either side has risks, either side has benefits or problems and everything else, and because I'm invested in this situation, that's why then it's quite hard to make a decision. However, if I don't know, let's say this video gets 200 views and 50 people comment, they're not attached to the situation, so maybe are in a better place to make the right decision than I am. That's my logic anyway. And sometimes actually someone else can be telling you a problem, you can tell them the solution to the problem, but if you was having the same problem, you can't always tell yourself the solution to the problem. I hope everyone's still with me, but that's what's going to happen in this this update. I'm going to give you two scenarios the best I can, all the information and the facts I have, and I will do whichever one everybody sides with. So that's what we're doing, and it's not risky because I really am probably quite indifferent on both options. So it's not that I was gonna just have to make a decision anyway, and honestly they both have risks, they both have rewards, and instead of me just making a last minute decision and doing which one based on that, I let you guys decide, and at least then if it was the wrong decision, I'm not just in it on my own. But yeah, that's what's happening in this update. Right, before we get on to all of that, update one. It's an exciting one, and I think some of you have seen already, but this is the first time I am recording as an actual YouTube professional, because this channel has now reached what it needed to for monetization, and we did it within the 1 year time frame, and I'm like super happy about that. And it's a big thanks to you guys who watched and shared the videos and liked the videos and commented on the videos, and everybody who supported this channel up until now. So we did it. So that's a mission achieved, mission accomplished. I don't know what the boat term for that is, but yeah, we've done that. And I won't go into it in this video, but I have said from the beginning what I wanted to do was use any money that came from ad revenue to go to some good causes. I'm working on that at the minute, and there'll be more about that in an upcoming video. But first we had to get to monetization so anyone would take it seriously. So yes, we did it. In the episode that will be of this time, there's a bit more about reaching that during that, but for the sake of this update, yeah, it's good news. So took a while, but we did it. So yeah, happy about that. I was going to try sit in that tree to film this part, but getting too old for that. Right, the boat. What's happening with the boat? Everybody keeps asking me what's happening with the boat. Not necessarily my boat, that's as it was, and I have found out it's not sunk or anything, so that's good. Someone posted on a group that I follow that part of the port, and luckily I could zoom in and see that my boat was actually still afloat, and the dinghy is still there, so that's good news. No, we're talking about the free boat, the one that's we've been on about in, like, not the last episode but the one before. I don't know, I can't get hold of anyone. Today is the 1st of March, which is when obviously we didn't have a set date, but end of February, beginning of March, and I've tried to get through to the port. I did on one occasion get through to the captain of the port, who said he was going to call the next day. This was maybe 4 days ago, maybe even 5 days ago, and I have tried to call about 4 times a day since, and I just can't get through to anyone. So I haven't given up hope that it's still going to happen. However, I have recently been recording you know, what other options might be out there, so don't worry if we don't get it. We will still be back on the sea. I'm not going to be on the campsite forever. No, definitely something will happen. And actually, the decision that I've got to make, that's coming up in this video, that involves like the boat as well, so we'll get on to it. Do I have any more updates? So obviously, as anyone who's watched this before knows, and just for anybody who hasn't, sailed around a bit, boat got stranded, I had to come do some work because I took it right to the line and then did not have a penny left, to the point I had to borrow some money to get the train to come do the work. We've done that bit of work, so yeah, if anyone was thinking I was lazy by just lounging around on the boat, I did go do some work, so yeah. But yesterday was the last day of my contract, and it was meant to be payday, and I didn't get paid yet because it's apparently takes a few days longer because it's the end of the contract. But yeah, it wouldn't be so bad if it were the weekend, but it's the weekend. But you know what, someone has offered to lend me some money till I do get paid. Hopefully I get paid early next week, and some money in the bank for the first time in a long time, so that is good. I did really want to record this from the beach. I might get a part of it in, and then this part won't be in the video if I make it down there, but it's nearly sunset. Right, so the thing to decide is, you might remember this time last year, roughly, and I was leaving the Gulf of Saint-Tropez, which is where I am, in the Gulf of Saint-Tropez if we count the bit of sea I'm closest to. Leaving the Gulf of Saint-Tropez, and it's while already under sail we decided whether I was going east or west, and it was literally ended up being a decision based on the wind was going that way. I couldn't decide whether to go east or west, could have gone anyway. It didn't, you know, I didn't know, I didn't really have a plan. So being back in the Gulf of Saint-Tropez a year later, just finished that bit of work, I'm faced with the same choice. So it's east or west, which on the screen I don't know if that'll be right, but east or west, that doesn't make sense. East, oh, Jesus. Right, so it's east or west, work or boat, and money versus morals, which is why this thumbnail is as it was. So, as you know, regarding money versus morals, throughout the last year, I've chosen morals over money pretty much most of the time, and you've seen the struggle. And then obviously, I've come back, done a bit of work because I really needed to, and it had got to the point I had to do it. So I've come and done that with a plan of doing the 1 month's work. Now, I've said in the last update that I wasn't going to go do this work because they was messing me around, and I said in the update before that I was going to go do the work to get the money. So what I'm going to do is I need to get on tonight because we've got till Sunday to decide, but I'm going to go through all the pros and cons because I've been thinking and get it all down on paper on the screen for you guys, and on Sunday whichever has got the most comments in favour, that's what we're going to do. What's the worst that can happen? Right, so for a little bit of context before we get into it, the job I left, you know, I'm not gonna start airing my dirty laundry, I think the saying is, in public, but didn't really leave on good terms, and I felt I was treated pretty badly. As always, I've got to be careful-ish what I say, but not where I am now on this campsite, but the overall company, it's the same company. And if any of them watch this, this ain't probably going to be a decision, is it? But yeah, but yeah, and for that reason, it was a case of I'm not going to look back. So when people ask me all the time, why did you choose to go live on a boat? I always say, and I've said a few times in the videos, it was only part choice and a lot of circumstance, I think is the best way I can put it. And then we went with it. And actually, in the last year, I've had to try things, you know, distract myself a lot of the time, and just make myself believe that I'm glad that I don't do that anymore. However, obviously going into the boat life, a little underprepared, it's not been so easy, has it? And I know that a lot of people have said in the comments already, well, you know, you should just go work for a bit and then try again. And that's not a discussion for this video, but something that will feature in another video of why. But yeah, so basically I'd said I weren't going back. And coming here, although it weren't the same campsite, but that campsite, I used to be, it's called a guest experience manager. You like, kind of, I won't go into what you do, but yeah. And I'd been on that campsite for the 3 years before doing, three years before doing this. And then, yeah, was forced to leave, I guess, is what happened. So, and as I say, we won't go into the full ins and outs of it, but it's going to be quite hard if I go back there based on that. So yeah, just a bit of context, because I'm going to have to record the rest of this inside the caravan, I'm afraid. Right, so we're going to go through the pros and cons to each and see which makes the most sense. I've got a feeling in doing so I might have made my own mind up, but as I say, I'm going to let you guys decide. And between us all, I hope we make the right choice. So, going and doing the work, number one, the obvious one, it's going to be some more money. So, 1,300 euros I'll end up getting paid then at the end of March. This is after, I've tried to estimate after like all of the French social security and stuff you have to pay, tax, all the rest of it. But 1,300 roughly at the end of March. And then, because it's working a week into April, 350 at the end of April as well. So that's, you know, that's the main point, really. But a few others, if I now don't go do it, it kind of, not here, the place I am, I think here said I could probably have a little bit of work at the end of, well, after the summer, or the season, if you like. If I now don't go do this, it's going to be very, yeah, probably, although they said I couldn't work before, but, you know, I will say that this was agreed in a certain way, and that's part of the reason why it's now, I'm a bit undecided, because they didn't do it when I agreed to it, and because of that it got left and left and left, to the point I actually got a phone call last night saying, yeah, you can do it. And yesterday was obviously the day my contract ended. So yeah, but whether they'll, if I now say, look, I can't because I needed the time to go to the boat, I don't know. But yeah, possibility of potential more work if I then got really stuck at the end of this summer. Another one, a randomish one, is just, it will be a month of having a postal address. So I will have got paid from here. And there's always things that I just could do with getting posted, etc., but just don't have like the postal address a lot of the time. But Also with that, there's reasons why that won't then be that beneficial depending on what's happening with the boat, but it still would be quite beneficial to have postal address for a bit. I could have had that this month, but obviously this month was kind of working to get paid, whereas going forward to the next month, I would have a bit of money obviously from this month, but we still obviously need to save as much as we can. Another point, gas, electricity, etc. You know, on the boat, obviously, there's the solar panels and stuff, but I am really limited in what I can use. And what I would say, while doing this, it's hard really because you're working, so you don't want to then come in and do it. But being sat inside comfortably and not being sat inside the shower block, if you've watched this before, like I did for months, I guess that's a pro. Another one, I'm not entirely sure, but I know the place has a gym. I can't remember if it's normally open out of season, well, for like the staff and stuff, but it wouldn't do me any harm to go spend a month in the gym, I don't think. I tried to do quite a lot of exercise in the summer and it's kind of like petered out when I hurt my knee, but it might be quite nice to go and have like a month of it because I'm limited what I can do on the boat, and gyms in France are really expensive, so yeah. Will I use the gym? Time would tell, but I don't know. I'd like to think I would, but who knows. I might think of a few more. If I do, I'll add them, but for now it's about the money in it, that part. Like, I wouldn't be going there for any other reason. And you would like to think that you could get there and there'll be a few people and it'll be quite social, but it just also might not be the case. And then that's almost worse than when you're alone on the boat, is when you're somewhere and alone, but there's other people. It's a tough one to explain. We don't have time in this video maybe, but yeah. I think you know what I mean, but I could add that, but that, as I say, could then also be a con if I get there and you kind of feel like excluded, I guess. Yeah. Right, so on to the reasons to not, and it gets a little bit complicated, and I know, you know, this isn't a big, huge life decision, but some of the problems or the risks of going to do the work are the same as the ones that I had coming to do this work. So we was in a position where, obviously, number one, and you've probably already thought about it, this free boat, had I been in the port for the last month, I could have really been like, oh, maybe I've seen the guy if he's coming to empty it. I don't know. But it's quite hard to get in touch with anyone, and it would be a lot easier to get it sorted out if I was there. And we can go off the value and the money on this side, which would obviously be quite good. And I'm not going to put an accurate figure on that boat, but I would like to think it was easily worth about 3,000. So if we was to then miss out on that, the money we've earned here isn't going to buy us a boat to this standard. And then it's quite detrimental to how I plan to earn money in the summer, but I'll get onto that. So yeah, if I'm in and around the port, it's easier to find out what's going on with that, rather than not being there and having no idea what's going on and almost feeling like I'm risking the opportunity. The second part, this is the complicated part. So whether that free boat does or doesn't happen, it's the same thing regarding time. So let's say I work until the end of the first week of April and I get back and the free boat isn't happening. Well, then I may have earned this, but I have a really broken boat, which this ain't gonna cover it. Do you know what I mean? And even if it does, if I missed out on the free boat because I was doing this, then do you know what I mean? It's a bit of a risk. the ideal scenario would be, obviously, I go do the month's work. The free boat is for definitely going to happen if it hadn't have already happened, which would have been the ideal thing. But that's not obviously the situation at the minute. It might all pan out that way. It might pan out that way, but I can't guarantee that. So that's if the free boat doesn't happen or does happen. But vice versa, either way, either I've done that and then I've got 2 boats that I need to get out of port quite quickly, or I've got 1 boat, the free boat didn't happen, but I've got a broken boat, which I then have no time really to get it ready. So yeah. But that said, I could not do the work, go back to the port, find out the free boat's not happening anyway, and only have the money I got from the previous month, which isn't going to be enough to sort the boat out. So it's getting a little bit tricky to decide. So no pressure. Yeah, it frees up the time basically. Another point, port relations. That port's been super nice to me. I'm struggling to get an answer, but maybe they can't get an answer, I don't know. But I don't really want to ruin having that port, that if I needed somewhere to go in the winter, they're going to be super friendly. I've said before, we can't really talk about money because I don't know, if someone else from the port watches or whatever, it's a bit tricky to talk about. But it's obviously, without saying it, should I just say it? Seas. I think they're going to be quite generous in how much I have to pay for the winter. However, if they feel like I'm taking advantage and they charge me for the full winter, we could have gone and earned this, but then we're going to have to spend it all on, what would it be, like $250 a month from October, November, December, January, February. 5 times 200. Yeah, we're kind of just spending that to then pay for that because we went and did that instead of getting out of there, do you know what I mean? But again, I don't know if that's the case. A point, obviously, it is the preferred place to be. I live on the boat now. It is my home. This does feel a lot like, it's strange, but if I was on the boat and on an evening I'm struggling for something to do, I can always do something on the boat or whatever. And if I went, let's say Monday, don't go do the work, and I go back to the boat, and by Wednesday the free boat has happened, let's say, obviously we don't know this, suddenly I've got quite a lot of stuff to do, and yeah. Whereas when I'm not there, I can't do that. And again, if they was to call me and say, can you come on Wednesday, we'll sign the thing over, and I'm at work, then I say, oh, I need to go do this, and they don't let me, then I feel like if that did happen, I'd go. Do you know what I mean? Even if I'd gone to work and they were like, no, you're not going, I would just go, I guess. Yeah, I'd have to. I've got to see at the time what's more important, and that would probably, having a working boat, 1 month's work, I'm not going to earn enough money to get a working boat. So I guess I'd do that regardless. So there you've got quite a few pros and, well, the pros, I guess, to each side. Cons of going to do the work as well are, as I've briefly touched on, I always be quite careful not to go into this too much, well, as much as I can, but if things have happened before and it's affected you a little bit, you do tend to try and not put yourself in a position you don't want to be in. I wish I could sit and say, I don't care, I'll just go there, it's just money, I don't care. And I'd hope to think that I've come far enough in the year that I can go and that be the case. But I am fully aware, and I know sometimes if I say this, people just like, oh, stop, whatever, but I am fully aware there'll be quite a lot of parts of it I'll struggle with. And you do have to think, is it worth it? Because it's minimum wage in an industry I worked in for 13 years, and at the end of it, now they might be like, oh, we really need you, could really do with you, but, you know, I'm going to say it might piss a few people off, but, and I don't mean anyone here, but last winter, while I was out having to try find a way to survive and get by and everything else, nobody needed me then, do you know what I mean? So, yeah, there is that to take into consideration, and I'm just trying to keep it honest. And another thing I'd say on it is, I remember being at the gates of that campsite the day I left, and as I say, I left on bad terms. I remember going through the gate, and I took a photo at the time, sent it to people back home or whatever, and I was filled with like a relief in a way that it was over, and you know, I was optimistic about what was happening from there and everything else. And then, yeah, before I knew it, I was in a bit of, having a bit of a turbulent time, I guess, or a wavy time, because we're not on a plane, we're on a boat most of the time. And it does feel a little bit like I'm going back on what I said, and the reason I used morals in the thing is because that really is what it feels like a little bit. The way they've handled like me getting the work as being just, you know, a bit, again, not this campsite one now, the one I used to work on that I might be going back to, but you know, I found myself just sat waiting, like it didn't matter, and I didn't have any sort of life of my own, and it does and did feel a little bit like, well, they'll just do it anyway. So that bugs you. So yeah, to go work just for minimum wage, and I guess minimum wage is all right. But you know, it's not. It's almost like someone's throwing me a bone, and I'm meant to be grateful for it. This is going to cause me some problems, this video, isn't it? But yeah. That said, the money. You know, even I said the 350 at the end of April. It's into about May where I then start to be able to think about doing boat trips. But then the flip side, if I don't have a working boat by then, how am I going to do the boat trips? So I hope you can see why this is a little bit confusing for me. I guess normally decisions are like this. You've got to make one, and it might be the right one, it might be the wrong one. But if they'd have sorted it the way it was agreed upon to start with, I was meant to finish here on the 18th of February, which landed on a Sunday, so I could have in theory finished on the 16th on, you know, at 12 o'clock, got back over to the boat and had the whole second half of February, because I said I can work March, but I can't work directly after here. But because they didn't do it at the time, here ended up extending me, and now it's needed for now because they're behind, and it's, you know, them being behind is not my doing, do you know what I mean? But if that had been the case, I could have been back at the boat since the 16th of February, and then at the boat from the start of March. That said, I would have been back at the boat with no money and not really being able to get much done. Just a few more parts, because I didn't really go into the cons of going back to the boat. This money from the 1 month, literally, it's not a case of I can take that money and go start spending it, because it's really got to take me up until I can do the boat trips again. ideally I'd like to invest a bit of money into, you know, a few flyers or stuff, just so I can give it a bit of a bigger push. I won't go too much into the plans of what's happening next year because it's coming up in a video, but I might get back there. The batteries might not be working and it might then get quite hard to do any work. I don't know. That's why I'm going to leave it to you guys to decide. I think I've given you most of it. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I missed out. I think that pretty much sums it up, and it's not meant to be a really long episode. So I don't know if I said less trouble as well with the, if I don't go do the work, there might not be any trouble, you know. Maybe I would go do the work and some nice people there and some friends, but maybe I go do the work. And what I was going to say, I don't think I mentioned, when you leave somewhere, you're the easiest person to blame. So, you know, I do wonder a little bit, and I've heard little bits or whatever, that how much has been said when someone went there the year after. Oh yeah, that must have been wrong because Jay did it, or that must have been wrong because Jay did it. I don't know that, but you know, it's quite easy then to go get into this thing of caring about something you shouldn't really care about, I guess. I think that's it. So the time is on because I've got to decide this. Actually, when I was recording, the guy came round and was like, oh, Monday. I'm like, oh, I couldn't really say. Yeah, no, YouTube's deciding for me what I'm doing. Imagine. But yeah, you guys, I hope someone, at least one person, comments. Otherwise, we're not going to have a decision. I'm still going to have to decide myself, aren't I? But no, I have a feeling you will pick the right thing for me. And I said by the end of this do's or don'ts, I'd have decided which one to do if I was making my own mind up. But I haven't, so it's up to you guys. I haven't. I'm just down the middle with it because I really don't want to miss out on that boat. It's crucial. At the same time, 1,300 and then 350 at the end of April. You know, it does start to get me into summer. Something I forgot to mention on the good parts of the work is how it works in France. You pay an absolute fortune in social security and contributions. However, if you accumulate 6 months worth of work in a year's period, I think it is, they will cover, while you're not working for a 6 month period, some of what you earn, and it's a reasonable amount. I think it might be about 50%. So if I did go do the work, then go do my summer, then went and did say 3.5 months more work in the winter, it could then next summer give me a bit of an income, a bonus income. I know loads of people will agree with that, but you know, you do pay a lot, and you do pay a lot in contributions and stuff when you are working, and when you go, you know, doctors, hospitals, everything else. Won't talk about hospitals. Still haven't been to see about my knee. So there is that aspect too. And yeah, maybe, yeah. And even me saying, you know, if I get there, what if I got there and it was terrible and I wanted to go, I guess I could go. And I think as well, like, just, I don't know, but I've just not been to the boat for a while, and I feel like I should be there. And, you know, I've kind of just abandoned my home, and I left in a rush, so I don't really know what state it is in now. You know, I planned to be away from it for, well, a month basically, and it's now been over a month, and if I do this it will be like 2.5 months. So yeah, it's quite hard to get back there too, because then once I'm there and working, come to the weekend and it's like, do I justify paying to get there and back? Another point, last point, is that, if I go to do this other work from here, someone said they would give me a lift back to the boat with my stuff, whereas I'm not sure that will be the case from there. I guess that's not the be all and end all, is it? I don't know. It's in your hands. So how are we going to do this? I guess the easiest way is if you comment saying do the work or don't do the work, and we've got until like Sunday to decide. So on Sunday at, let's say, 6 p.m, that's decision time. 6 p.m. UK time. I'll count up the comments. If there's more say do the work, I'll go do the work. If there's more say don't do the work, I won't go do the work. And actually, this might just be an easier way to live the rest of my life, just not having to make decisions. I'm joking. But, you know, I do feel a lot of you guys are, you know, I'm asking a bunch of people who, especially everyone who watches every week, I think you know quite a lot about me, and I think you know what's for my best interest. So I'll let you guys decide. Episode wise, they're still coming. I'm working on them. This one probably replaces the one I was going to do, because this, I need the answer obviously by, you know, the end of Sunday. So yeah, there'll be another episode coming out soon. Thanks everyone for watching. I am still working on getting back to the boat. What I didn't say is, you know, doing this as well, it was quite a big thing for me when I made the 1,000 subscribers and the monetization or whatever the other week. And I know nobody really wants to watch me working or whatever, and kind of don't want to feel like I'm sacrificing YouTube as well, because I have put, you know, quite a bit of time into it. I don't say I live my life by YouTube, even though I'm making a video letting YouTube decide, well, viewers decide what, well, you guys decide what I'm going to do next. But I don't, you know, tend to live my life by YouTube, but it is something I've put a lot of time into, and it, you know, going off and working feels a little bit like sacrificing that. Although in the month I was at work, I've had more viewers than any of the months I was at the boat, but I think that was just not to do with the work, obviously. But yeah, right, I'm going to stop talking. I'm going to let you guys decide. Please somebody comment, because otherwise it's going to be a little bit embarrassing, innit? But yeah, work or not work. I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.